Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to another great episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey, your host. I am so pleased you took a little bit of time to join me and my guests as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. And speaking of organizations that set us apart, shall we say, we are Foxborough, and who do we identify ourselves with? Or more importantly, who does the rest of the country identify us with, particularly on certain Monday nights in the fall? It would be the New England Patriots. And along with the New England Patriots, we have Gillette Stadium, Patriots Place, and all of the things up on Route 1 that are really called the craft organizations. So I am so happy to be able to talk to a couple of fine representatives of the craft organization. Joining me today are Jess Stevenson and Jeremy Smith. Jeremy Smith and Jess are both working in power positions with the craft organization. You are the
Director of External Affairs and Business Development.
Fantastic. And Jeremy is the
Corporate Communications Coordinator.
And the reason why, and I'm so glad to have you join us, and I understand that you just joined the staff up there. You came from a position with The Patch.
Correct, yep.
And so media is your background, and so that would seem to dovetail nicely into your new role of corporate communications.
Absolutely, yeah, it's been great. I covered the town in Foxborough for a little over a year, and had an opportunity to head up to the craft organization, and it's been great. It's been tremendous.
Now, having followed you on The Patch, many folks at home know your name and know of you, and so how did that experience really prepare you to jump right into the world of corporate communication? It seems like it would be similar but different.
Similar but very different, absolutely. It's been a learning curve for sure, but the strong media background really helps me connect with the journalists. The Foxborough Reporter in town, have a great relationship with them, and the Sun Chronicle, working with them to really kind of just talk about Patriot Place and talk about Gillette Stadium and let them know all the great things we're doing up there. So it's the experience has been great. And
I suppose that's why we are gathered here today. I reached out, of course, to my longtime friend Jess and my new longtime friend Jeremy. I had received, as I live in Foxborough, a copy of the Partners in Patriotism, which is your new quarterly newsletter.
Yes.
And has this been something that's been in the works for a while?
It has. It's actually been something that we've been discussing for over a year, and it's timely in how it's now come to fruition, because there's a lot of issues on the table and a lot of opportunities we feel like we have to open up the doors of communication and create a forum in which we can put out our message, but more importantly, we can be in a position to listen to the town of Foxborough and its residents.
Well, as I say, communication is a two-way street. And,
yes.
For people who forget that, they tend to have to be taught that every once in a while. So I'm really glad to hear that your team is taking that step and reaching out to the rest of us, and hopefully we'll communicate back to you in a good way. But this was a newsletter, and for those of you who know about this show, I try to focus on things that really are positive and good for Foxborough, and really I want my friends at home to know about. But when this came out, I was very impressed. This is a quality newsletter, and the cover story, of course, passing of Sam Burns, who very influential and way too soon, but his story is one of hope, and also of that of his parents, who really are trying to make a difference for Jerry and for Jerry Research, and he was a perfect face of it. But he seemed to really touch Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, really touch him and the organization with his appearing with him. Yes. And talking to the team, and I know that I don't watch very much daytime television, but I was watching an episode, and Mr. Kraft gave a huge donation to Jerry Research.
Yes. On the Katie Couric show, he did.
Yes.
And Sam came down, and his story resonated with everybody, obviously, and so he's such an important person on a national level, on an international level, but more so than anything here in Foxborough. So when it came about, and when he did come up to the stadium and talk to the players before they left for a game, watched practice, really struck a chord with all of us, and especially with Mr. Kraft. So they formed a really unique relationship, and it was a great bond to sort of be able to stand back and watch. And so, we help out however we can in the community, and Mr. Kraft took a very personal approach and was in a position to make the contribution that he did.
That's fantastic. That story, and you say resonates, absolutely does to this day, and hopefully that research continues, and the good work that is happening here will reap rewards down the road. Part of this also is creating the communication link, and I guess I didn't intend it. I'm reading it now. Communication counts. So I suppose that is your overarching message that you would like to point out. So why is communication important? Who cares? It's just talk, right?
It's in Jeremy's title, so obviously he thinks it's important.
Right.
Well, Jeremy, why is communication important?
Communication obviously is just important in any relationship, in any partnership, and between the town of Foxborough and the Kraft organization, we want communication, and we want to be able to openly communicate with our community, with our neighbors, with our residents and friends, and that's the underlying, that's just the point right there, is that we want to create dialogue, we want to better communication both ways, as you said earlier, and we feel that, let's try a newsletter. Let's see, create that dialogue with a quarterly newsletter that just keeps people informed on what we're doing and invites them into our conversations.
And this is going to be a quarterly newsletter, so it's coming out. What if, say, I wanted to contribute something and I called you up? How would I get a hold of you?
Give you my cell phone number, 774-406-6487.
You've done that to the entire community.
Absolutely. It's my work phone, so I always have it on me, and as a journalist, it's a 24-hour job, so I'm used to having the call, so always free to give me a call and let's have a conversation, let's discuss, and if you have something to contribute, be more than happy to work with you on it.
And I know that people can also get a hold of you at jsmith@patriots.com.
It's Jeremy S, and I'll spell it just because my name's a little funny. It's JEREMIES@patriots.com.
Those of us who have seen you on the patch, we know how to spell your
Correct.
name, but it never hurts to share that again. That's great information. So there is, again, a communication flow and a way to get a hold of you up there. So you had mentioned about journalism. So you're approaching this as a newspaper type approach.
To a degree. I think that we'd like to make it more conversational as we develop this, and really just, starting with communication, creating that two-way dialogue. And, we have stories to tell, whether it, the inspiration of Sam, one quarter, messages from ownership, another quarter, Patriot, the benefits of Patriot Place. We're now over 5 years of having Patriot Place in town. What are residents getting from Patriot Place, and the programs we have up there, the free activities. It really does encompass everything that is Gillette Stadium and Patriot Place, and the partnership we have in town.
Well, everybody loves, I don't know if everybody loves it, but everybody loved the skating rink that you set up out there every year. You set up there every year.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that falls under external affairs or just something that's pretty cool, but I don't know how that works.
A little bit of both.
It was pretty cool. And you had mentioned about local faces, and I noticed on here that this past issue had Faces of Foxborough, a local resident who works up at Patriot Place?
Yes. Yep, I'm actually up at the stadium. Tim Oakes has been with us for 3 years now, and he is born and raised in Foxborough, and he is a warrior at heart, and now he's a Patriot. And so that'll hopefully be something that we feature every quarter as a resident who works for us full-time up at the stadium, and sort of how growing up in this town, how it's impacted them, having the organization in town, but then also now how it's transitioning into a part of their career and their life in that capacity.
Mm. And you've been up at the stadium now for,
9 years now.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. And with that 9 years, you've seen the relationship grow, change. You've seen, obviously, Patriot Place. You were there for the birth of that. Mm-hmm. So what is going on in the world of Just and Patriots Place?
It's been tremendous when I think back of starting straight out of college, and what the landscape, both from just an actual physical perspective and our business actual model, and how it's changed in the past 9 years is really stunning. right now, Patriot Place is evolving, and it's really been sort of somewhat of a moving target. Being a retail complex, it's heavily affected by the economy, obviously, and so things shifted dramatically for everybody around 2008. So what originally sort of came up with a concept thinking it was going to be a little more retail heavy, and what we've seen now with our own organization and with retail complexes in general is there's a shift towards more of a dining and entertainment aspect that really needs to be present in order to keep those type of developments profitable.
You know, it's interesting you say that, and that the 2008 economic downturn was significant in a number of ways. One, you know, it sort of shook out the business landscape. The development that was going to come in Sharon never did, and so that was a significant event. I'm not even going to say it was a plus, because it just changed things. It also, Legacy Place up in Dedham, they also created an identity, and their identity is significantly different than what Patriot Place is now become known as an entertainment dining venue. And I think that we need to understand that, and it's not the shifting landscape is not necessarily bad, not necessarily good. It's just a shifting landscape,
Exactly.
And so we need to be able to adapt. And as with any marriage, you got to be able to communicate
Right,
and adapt with each other. So
Yes.
I just thought of that as you were talking about that, because I do remember, for those of you who may not remember at home, I used to be a selectman here in this nice town, and I remember a lot of the planning meetings and a lot of the presentations and how the vision, but as with any vision, the reality sometimes takes a different turn.
Yeah, and you just have to be able to grow and to adapt, and make the smartest decisions moving forward to make sure that, like I said, everything remains, keeps moving in a positive direction.
Mm-hmm. Now, we had mentioned about Tim Oakes, who grew up here in town and works up at the stadium. I've known you now for 9 years, and your role has changed. And one of the reasons why I reached out was this, but also I was just watching a selectmen's meeting on your local cable channel because we cover all the selectmen's meetings, and I saw you up there giving a presentation, and I thought, well, isn't that interesting? So you too have changed roles and grown. I don't see you every day, but every time I see you, it seems like you have additional work. So you're now the Director of External Affairs.
I am.
That's a big role.
It is.
It's different from when I first met you.
It is. It's very different.
So you've grown up through the organization.
I have. I really have. I started as an intern, and then my first job was as an assistant in my department. And now I've grown into the director role over the past 9 years. And like I said, it's been exciting to watch how the business has grown, and it's been really exciting to grow with it, personally and professionally. And it's one thing that is so tremendous about the organization is that if you have sort of the drive, if you have the ambition, you can grow within it. So it's always changing, it's always shifting, and it is never the same job 2 days in a row.
Well, I guess that's what all of us want, is just something that's interesting and challenging.
Absolutely.
So it's a good place to work is what you're saying.
It is, it really is. I would hope so, 9 years later.
Well, I would hope so. The piece that I always find fascinating about Patriot Place is that in Gillette Stadium and the Patriots and the Kraft organization is that a lot of the work that is done to support nonprofits and local organizations is not talked about. And so what I'm hoping, and not that anybody cares what I hope, but what I'm hoping is that a lot of that will be publicized in this to sort of share with the community the good work that's going on, because we can all talk about businesses and the Patriots had a great year, but what does it mean to us? Well, there's a lot of undercover stuff, and I'll give one shout out that maybe you don't even know about. I don't know if you know about this. Foxborough Cable Access. We have these wonderful studios that we just moved to at 28 Central Street, which everybody's welcome to come down and visit us. And if you want to volunteer, check us out at fcatv.org. Shameless plug. Or 508-543-4757. But with that, we have some phenomenal volunteers, and one of them is our president of the board of directors, Paul Beck, who is huge into the industry and a professor and now retired, to his credit. We come across equipment every once in a while, and he made a huge score, and I'll say score in a positive way, where he went down to New York and picked up tons of equipment, many of it still shrink wrapped and never unpacked, which doesn't necessarily come to us, but he uses to meet our needs by trading with other organizations, because we're a nonprofit organization. We certainly, we can tell you all about budgets and whatnot, but we needed a place to store it, and we put the call out, and we were welcomed up there, and I think we have probably overstayed our welcome, but we have stuff stored in one of your rooms up at Patriot Place.
Yeah.
And your people were very accommodating to us. And in fact, when you needed to move some stuff, you took care of everything for us. So we feel blessed as far as being a community resource up there that, obviously isn't a publicity piece. It's just something that you did because we reached out. But that happens an awful lot. And I think that goes under the radar. It's underreported, and people don't really appreciate that there's a lot of things that go on that people don't even know about. So that's my 3.5-minute spiel on tell me about some of the things you would want me to know about if you wanted me to know about things.
Well, I think, you hit on it when you said, we're a resource. I think that one of the things that we hope to accomplish with this newsletter is to do just that, to point out or highlight some of the things that we are doing in the community that might have gone unnoticed, but really, again, to just harp on that communication theme, to open up the lines of communication, because a lot of the ways in which we can be good neighbors are through sort of unconventional means. And you think of donations, and you do think of, the financial donations or player appearances, autographed items, but we have space, and Foxborough Cable Access needed it, and so it worked out perfectly well, to come up, and those are the kind of things that we can't necessarily foresee, and we hope that, and being a little more prominent in the community and making sure that we're out and available to listen, we can sort of step out and be helpful in some unconventional and creative ways. And the only way that we're going to know how we can do that is to, like I said, be a little more prominent and be able to listen to people in a different way. So one of the things that we're hoping to, or that we're going to roll out this year, is an open house series. So we will essentially open the doors to the stadium and have everybody come down and have an opportunity to come in, residents only, and talk to us about, we'll have a small agenda as far as just having a couple of different items to discuss or point out, and then at that point it'll really just be an open forum for people to voice concerns that they have, things they like, things they don't like, opportunities that they see. Exactly.
Excellent. So with that, we have also in this newsletter the announcement of the creation of a charitable giving board with community membership.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
That's actually, I think that's what I'm the most excited about in sort of rolling out this new communication plan, is that we're going to, the Crafts have generously donated $100,000 annually. We want to allocate the funds. And in discussions, we sort of took a step back and realized that it would probably be best to have the residents decide where that money should go. Because while it's our job to be really ingrained in the community, there are areas that we might not necessarily know where that money should go, how it can go to good use. And so we're going to create a board of 13 residents who will be able to sit and vet every donation request that we get, and then they'll be able to decide where that money should go, where it'll be best served, strictly within the town of Foxborough.
That's amazing, the amount of money to be contributed annually.
It's a really generous amount, and hopefully it'll make some pretty significant impacts right away.
That's fantastic. And so if people wanted to volunteer to participate and be on that board, they would contact you, or?
We have, there'll be an application in next quarter's newsletter,
Okay.
a hard copy that we'll be able to tear out and mail in, and it'll also be live, the application will be live on the Partners in Patriotism landing page that's off of GilletteStadium.com.
GilletteStadium.com is how to get the information. It hasn't happened yet, so be on the lookout for that. So everybody
April
should be looking
1st.
out. April 1st. Don't give a hard date. 'Cause I've learned with newsletters, and I help out with the newsletter at my company. It's the best laid plans of mice and men
Yes.
often come up with a competing deadline. But so April 1st is the target.
April 1st will be when the application is live on the landing page. And then
Excellent.
within the first couple of weeks in April, the hard copy of the newsletter will be circulated.
Excellent. So we'll all be looking for that in our mailboxes. I know that everybody in Foxborough got this, and there's also some interesting information in here about Patriot Place and talking about numbers and whatnot. So it was an interesting read. It wasn't just a newsletter that came out and said, "Hi, this is who we are." And there's interesting information in here, and one of my favorites, of course, is for folks who are new to Foxborough and may not remember that Gillette Stadium was not always here. That was just opened in 2002, so it wasn't always here. There's the great pictures in the back showing what Schaefer Stadium used to look like and the way the parking lots were. I just always like things like that. See the history. There used to be 2 stories on this building. I bet you didn't know that. So
no, I didn't.
The history of this town is interesting, and the story that is woven gets reinforced with things like that. So the newsletter is cool. I just wanted to share that I liked it.
Well, thank you.
No, I really appreciate
That's
that.
a goal.
Who wrote it?
I did a lot of the heavy lifting, but this was truly a collaborative effort with a lot of just different people in the organization, and kind of that teamwork attitude, and it was a lot of fun to put together, and we're really looking forward to rolling this out and really opening and establishing that dialogue with the town. So we're excited.
So with the newsletter, and obviously coming in with a media background, how did you get to this point? Did you go to school? Did you just wake up one morning and say, I'm really smart, or what happened?
With media in my
Yes.
background, yeah, I think in high school, I mean, I always had a passion for writing, and for a while it was sports writing and just, that pure interest in sports, and so I wanted to make that a career. And so I went to college for journalism.
And where'd you go?
Keene State College up in Keene, New Hampshire. And really a underestimated journalism program up there. I had a great education and really enjoyed it and really got a lot out of it. So right out of school, went into newspapers down in Connecticut and was a sports editor down there for a few years. And then I had grown up in Massachusetts, went to high school just down the road in Millis. So I eventually said, you know what, I'd like to get back to Massachusetts, and heard about this new venture with Patch and thought it would be interesting and a new challenge. So took that up and created a few websites over the years and really kind of connected with the Foxborough community. Personally, I actually ended up moving here a little over a year ago, and so I'm now an active member of the community.
So you live in Foxborough?
I do.
You're a voter?
I'm a voter and a Foxborough JC, so join if you have time.
Well, I'm an old JC,
absolutely,
so it's a good thing.
It's great. So, yeah, I mean, the media background has been something I've always enjoyed, and I'll always consider myself just journalism in my blood. So.
And so now that you're up with the craft organization, bringing that to this, is this one of your selling points, or is this an offshoot? What is your primary job up there? It seems like corporate communications can cover so much.
It does, right? You're absolutely right. Really handles a lot of the promotions of Patriot Place and Gillette Stadium. Really working with the media to just get our information out, whether it's programs, activities, events, concerts. Really working from that perspective. But again, something like this, it comes up. I join the craft organization this past June. I hear about it pretty early on in my tenure, and I just get excited. I mean, this is in my opinion a passion project for me, because it can have a lot of value, and it can be it just can, like you said, just bring to light a lot of the information and really create that dialogue that we feel we need on both sides. Communication with the craft group and the town. So.
Well, I also appreciate the fact that you two have taken the time to come down to speak with us on Foxborough Cable Access, because this is another piece of the communication puzzle. And as anybody in business can say, advertising and communication is no blueprint for success. It's just a matter of hitting each piece as they come up and being able to say, hey, that sounds like a great idea, and taking the leap and doing it. So this newsletter seems like a pretty significant leap, but also one that is pretty cool. And I hope that this continues, and I'm looking forward to my April edition of the Partners in Patriotism. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
All
you
right,
got it right.
I got it
You
right.
got it.
I got to see it's a catchy name. I guess with any publication, you got to have a good title, and there you go. So with the Partners in Patriotism, what's next? I understand you have a whiteboard in your office that has ideas for the coming issue. So what's coming up?
We don't want too many spoilers. I think one of the most...
How about a teaser?
We have a couple of exciting events coming up in the month of March and the very beginning of April that we're going to cover, one of which is extremely meaningful to our organization and really hits home with the town. So that'll be one of our feature stories in the April newsletter.
So we'll have to have that as a coming attraction.
Yes.
So with the... with all the, and I apologize, I'm of course speaking with Jess Stevenson, who is the Director of
External Affairs and Business Development.
I was going to say that.
That's right. You have to have us back on.
I sincerely hope so. And Jeremy Smith, who is the Corporate Communications Coordinator.
Absolutely.
I got that right.
Early morning alliteration.
Phenomenal. I like it. We're speaking about the newsletter that is going to be a quarterly event, but also the partnership between the town and the craft organization. So with the $100,000 commitment for local charitable contributions, what are some of the things that you visualize that being used with that money? Is it something that you're looking to primarily do towards kids, towards nonprofits, towards specific events, scholarships, or is that really undefined in the 13 people that are identified and who will volunteer? Is it really going to be their decision?
It's a completely clean slate. So the 13 residents that come in and sit on this board are really going to have carte blanche in how they decide to allocate the funds. So
this is a real position.
It is a real.
This is a real need.
Absolutely.
There needs to be 13 real people.
13 real people, which I think we'll be able to find, and
I'm sure you will.
They will have complete control over those funds. And if it's one lump sum, if it's 100 small donations, it's however the people of the town see fit.
Fantastic. It's charity without strings is truly charity.
It's going to be really exciting.
That is a really good thing for Foxborough, in that it's committed to the town, and the town, for all of our ups and downs, we are partners in this whole relationship, as well as with the Foxborough company, Invensys, Schneider Electric, the craft organization, Schneider Electric, and they are our significant business partners, and so we need to understand and embrace that. Don't always have to agree, but at the end of the day, we do have to recognize that bed, we are all in it together, and that we need to make it work. And so I keep pointing towards Town Hall. You watching on TV have no idea where I'm pointing to. If you look at our beautiful studio and you see the window that faces Central Street, Town Hall is on the other side of the steamer shed. So as you see me point, that's where I'm pointing to Town Hall. It is something that we all need to understand, and maybe all of us need to work a little harder to get there. Even grumpy columnists need to stop being so negative. Or maybe not. Anyway, folks, I'm going to give these two good people the last word as I pass it off to them. We've been talking about Partners in Patriotism, the quarterly newsletter talking about the good works that the Gillette Stadium / Patriots / Patriot Place / craft organization are doing for us here in Foxborough. Jeremy, you'll go first, then Jess, because Jess is my friend longer than you, although you're now my lifelong friend also.
Really looking forward to that, Bob. I really appreciate that. Really just thank you for having us. Really appreciate being able to talk more about this and more formally introduce it into the community. We really hope that we hear back from the community on this. I think that's the big thing. We really want this dialogue to be created, be established, and continue. And we good, bad, otherwise, we want to hear from you. We want to really work together and continue that partnership, because through all the good, through all the bad, it's been a very great partnership over time, as we've seen through the pictures of Schaefer to Foxborough Stadium to Gillette Stadium and Patriot Place. It's pretty fascinating over 25 years what's been accomplished because of the partnership with the town.
Well, I look forward to speaking with you more, and as your role goes and increases, and people can reach out to you at jeremys@patriots.com. Jeremy spelled I-E,
Correct.
Not with a Y.
Correct.
Excellent. Jess, what do you think?
Thank you for having us out this morning. I think that if there's anything that people sort of take away from this, it's that we are growing too. So the newsletter, the look might change, the feel might change a little bit. We really are looking to the town for guidance, for recommendations, and to see how we're going to be better partners, be better neighbors. So we hope that people respond well to the grant that we're establishing. We hope that residents come down to the open house. I think if there's one thing that we really want to hit home, it's that it's truly going to be a forum for people to come up and have a really open and honest conversation with us. So we need to hear it all, the good, the bad, all of it.
And can people get in touch with you up there as well?
Yes, please do. Jess with 3 S's at patriots.com.
Jess S at patriots.com. And of course, if you want to see this episode or any other episode of Foxborough Central, in addition to seeing it on this live cable channel. Well, it's not live, but it's good for you. Check us out at www.fcatv.org. On behalf of all the volunteers here at Cable Access, Mike Weber, Executive Director, Gary Nash behind the glass, Bob Lomas and Deb Storrs, my wonderful camera people who came out this morning, as they do all the time, to bring this information to you. Have a great day, Foxborough. Take care.